Good evening. This is the PNGTV Live News Bulletin. I'm Belinda Cora. Exhibits from the National Museum and Art Gallery's Modern History section are yet to be properly housed as the museum awaits a planned storage area from the National Capital District Commission. The museum's principal curator for modern history, Gregory Bublis, when asked about plans to have the exhibits properly stored, told PNGTV Live that the city authority had agreed back in 2015 to provide an area at Gordon's to be used by the museum.
And so the bulk of our collections were displaced to Murray Barracks, where they're currently in store. And some of those surplus materials from World War II you will see out in front of the museum. The arrangement was for NCD to give us a piece of land and also build a warehouse so that the collections from Murray Barracks can then be moved over to the new warehouse. And as yet, we are still trying to progress talks with NCD about the new warehouse so that we can move our collections.
The National Court in Poponeta has thrown out an election petition against the member for Ijivitari, Richard Masere. The petition, brought by losing candidate Mr. Sheldon Delilah, alleged 7 counts of bribery against Masere during the 2017 national general elections. All 7 counts alleged that Masere had given cash and food to electors as bribes to secure votes on separate occasions last year on the 26th of June and the 1st and including the 4th of July. Kaligantanda with this report.
Mr. Masere, through his lawyer, Mr. Dane Mell of Mell and Henry Lawyers, filed an objection of competency which was heard on Monday, the 5th of February, at the beginning of a 5-day trial scheduled to go from the 5th to the 9th of this month. Masere's lawyers argued that the law in this jurisdiction required prerequisite facts to be pleaded to support each ground of alleged bribery in this case. They pointed out that such facts, especially regarding the element of criminal intent of Masere to commit alleged acts of bribery, were not sufficiently stated in the petition itself. They contended that Masere had no prior knowledge of the status of the petitioner's witnesses as electors. Furthermore, the petition did not state that the witnesses who received money and food were induced to vote for Masere, which constituted bribery under Section 103, subsection A of the Criminal Code. Presiding Judge Justice Yova Gator upheld objections to competency filed by Masere and the Electoral Commissioner as the second respondent, and dismissed the election petition for being incompetent. Following the arguments on Monday, Justice Gator handed down his reserved ruling on Thursday last week, upholding Mr. Masere's objection and dismissed the election petition for failing to plead sufficient facts and therefore being in breach of Section 208 of the Organic Law on National and Local Level Government Elections. Kaligantanda, PNGTV Live.
The Tikana Forest Plantation initially started out as a reforestation project in 1987 in the Kavieng district. After 31 years, it will now be commercialized with the harvesting of trees planted in it, as well as those growing in the surrounding areas. Kaligantanda with this report.
Of the people of my LLG in Tikana.
The landowners themselves would allocate portions of their land for food gardens and cash crops, such as cocoa and vanilla, to grow concurrently with portions allocated for the tree plantations.
We are so happy that such a system will be put in place for us.
According to the Tikana Tree Plantation President, Henry Penny, he was grateful in the manner of the PNGFA towards landowners and made mention of the 2007 United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which recognize the rights of indigenous landowners over customary land. Penny stressed for landowners to be brought in as equal partners to the projects in the extractive industries and commended the approach that PNGFA had taken.
The system that has been developed by your FDD, your Forest Development Directorate, is one of the most landowner-friendly systems that I can see around the place. This is totally compliant with the Constitution of Papua New Guinea. The extractive industries are not compliant. End of the story. We don't like Tok Landi. They are not compliant to the constitution of this land. This is the department that is compliant. This division is compliant.
Also in attendance at the MOA signing were the Acting Managing Director for PNGFA, Magdalene Maihua, and members of the National Forest Board, the New Ireland Provincial Government, and former KVing MP Ben Micah. The Tikana plantation comes under the Kout Forest Plantation Project in New Ireland and is the second of its kind. It follows the Ulapo Plantation Project in Millen Bay, which is expected to commence commercialization shortly. These are collective efforts by the PNGFA in achieving one of the major goals set under the Vision 2050, which is to plant 800,000 hectares of forests. Callaghan Tanda, PNGTV Live.
While the government is focused on providing relief efforts for those affected by recent natural disasters, victims of past disasters still face struggles. This was an issue raised in Parliament today by Sumkar MP Chris Nangoi, whose electorate holds displaced islanders from the Manam volcanic eruption. Gregory Avera reports.
The Manam volcanic eruption in 1994 displaced the island's inhabitants who have been living in care centers up until today. Sumkar MP Chris Nangoi said in Parliament today that while recent natural disasters have taken the focus of the government, victims of past disasters like Manam should not be left unattended. The displaced islanders, whose population has risen over the years, continue to face struggles at the sites they were relocated to.
This is issue belum Manam, any pending issue. Bila bring in come some, please. Before government lulu going to this is issue. Bila kin must review or lulu back this is issue belum Manam resettlement.
In response, Intergovernment Relations Minister Kevin Isifu assured the member that the government has not forgotten the people of Manam. He says a submission to establish the Manam Restoration Authority is before the National Executive Council for approval.
The submission is ready to take to NEC, the next NEC meeting for approval. And once that board is in place, I believe they will appoint the officers, the CEOs, and the administration, appropriate administration, to look into all the concerns that you have.
The minister adds that the government will do its best to ensure those affected by past disasters and any disaster in the future will be catered for. Gregory Avira, PNGTV Live.
You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. Reducing the cost of electricity in the country may not be immediately possible due to the high costs involved in power generation and the need to generate revenue. Public Enterprise and State Investment Minister William Duma said this while responding to a set of questions raised in Parliament today by Ijivitari member Richard Masere. Gregory Avira with this report.
The government has set a target to have 70% of the country having access to efficient electricity by the year 2030 and full coverage by 2050. At present, only 10% of the country has been connected to the supply provided by state-owned PNG Power Limited. While the government, through the power utility, is working on achieving this target, another pressing matter is the current retail price for electricity.
And it's a common knowledge that procuring power now for an average Papua New Guinea is considered an expensive purchase.
Public Enterprise and State Investment Minister William Duma, when responding, attributed the current pricing to the high cost involved in power generation. He adds that failure to maintain existing hydropower stations in the country has seen PNG Power resorting to diesel power generation, which is more costly.
Due to various change of governments and the inability of PNG Power to actually rehabilitate, particularly the hydro plant that we have right throughout the country, we've had to resort to power produced by diesel gensets, and Mr. Speaker, they are not very cheap.
Duma says apart from the high cost of generating power, the utility is required to generate revenue for the state. These, he says, are contributing factors which will not allow for electricity to be provided at a cheaper price. Gregory Avira, PNGTV Live.
The United Liberation Movement for West Papua, or ULMWP, is one step away from gaining full membership to the Melanesian Spearhead Group, or MSG. Leaders of the MSG today approved the application by ULMWP, now referred to the Secretariat for processing under the newly approved guidelines. Quintin Anaime with this report.
The biennial 21st MSG Summit ended today at the Sunny Hotel in Port Moresby with a 17-point communique signed by the leaders of the 5 member countries. MSG Chair Papua New Guinea Prime Minister Peter O'Neill outlined decisions made by the leaders during the discussions at the leaders' retreat this morning. The leaders noted the need for promoting equal opportunities for young Melanesians at different levels of development in the MSG region. They agreed to support the Foreign Fisheries Agency Director General candidacy of the Republic of Vanuatu and approved the Kanak Socialist National Liberation Front Action Roadmap on referendum. They approved the revised guidelines by the observers and associate members and new membership guidelines.
And that we directed the Secretariat to do more work on the proposed criteria, giving clear definition on the qualifications that will be required for each level of membership.
The leaders encourage greater advocacy on anti-nuclear activities in the Pacific and expressed sympathy for the devastation caused by the recent tropical cyclone Gita in Tonga and other parts of the Pacific. The chair thanked all leaders for their support and contributions during the summit and highlighted important upcoming events for the Melanesian community, including the APEC 2018 summit. Prime Minister O'Neill says they trust the Secretariat to set up clear guidelines on the membership criteria regarding the United Liberation Movement for West Papua.
But leaders have gone further and stated that membership levels need clear criteria, meaning that what are the requirements of a full member, what are the requirements of an associate member, what are the requirements of the observer. So those are the way forward for us. So for the application that is before the leaders, it has been referred to the Secretariat.
This follows continuous calls by Free West Papua Campaign PNG chapter to gain independence.
Now me asking Prime Minister long time me open I'm talk lo issue West Papua now. Must action. I'm not can talk that's all, but must action.
ULMWP President Benny Wenda says the decision today has given them more confidence for full membership.
So I think the Melanesian leader obligation to find a solution like FLNKS and Melanesian leader capable to solve this certain issue in the region.
Quintina Naime, PNGTV Live.
Following the disappearance of James Jr. Nambaru, a serving PNG Fisheries observer who went missing in July last year, the National Fisheries Authorities is still to announce measures that need to be in place to protect our observers while out at sea. Today, the mysterious disappearance of not only Nambaru, but other young observers reached the floor of Parliament during question time as to what the government will do about protecting our Papua New Guineans who are out at sea, protecting our resources. ECP Governor Alan Bird claims that apart from one missing observer from his district, 18 Papua New Guineans have so far gone missing while working as observers for NFA. 4 so far are from East Sepik province. Mr. Bird said one he had recently spoken to is a former observer himself over the weekend who says he was nearly killed while on board these foreign fishing vessels. He asked if government is planning to do something about this issue.
On Sunday, I spoke with one young man at Wom Village who had managed to run away through the kindness of his shipping captain. And so his ship captain dropped him off in Singapore and he flew back to Wewak. And he doesn't want to go back to sea anymore. And he says to me that he was almost killed by the foreign fishing crew.
The role of the observer is to increase the capacity for observer coverage, collect relevant data, and monitor compliance with license conditions for fishing vessels operating in PNG waters. In reply, Deputy Prime Minister Charles Sable says this is a serious allegation and the government has taken it on board and will investigate.
We will look into those allegations, and if necessary, it will then lead to the appropriate steps to conduct a full investigation, and then naturally that should lead to the consequences which will involve a potential whole range of measures, including maybe suspension of license.
Media reports from the Pacific Guardian sources last year said the Nauru police investigation, which included reviewing video footage, indicated that there was no foul play involved in the disappearance of Numbaru. The Fengjang was cleared to leave Nauru port and was headed to Papua New Guinea. The Mineral Resource Authority must be professionally equipped and have the relevant capacity and support facilities to effectively carry out its role. This concern was raised today by the member for Lagaya Pogera, Tomait Kapili, towards the Mining Minister, Johnson Tuke, on the need to have well-trained, high-skilled and professionals who are able to regulate effectively PNG's mineral resource. The MP questioned whether the authority was able to deliver well-researched report on PNG's increasing wealth from the mining sector.
Can the Minister for Mining confirm or deny that Mineral Resource Authority does not have the technical capacity to support facilities to independently verify the amount and value of the metals, for example, the gold, silver, and so forth, exported by our mineral companies?
Mr. Kapili also suggested that the government appoint an independent body to look into reviews and mineral research by mining companies as well.
For example, any mineral resource and research submitted by the companies will be accepted at face value without independent verification. Without independent verification, the exact quantities and value of gold, our gold, silver, and copper exported by the companies.
In response, Mining Minister Johnson Tuke says for him to say we do not have the professionals to carry out this vital role would be wrong.
If you could visit our website, you can see all the tenement area where we have registered all our available tenements, the SML, AML, and of course alluvial.
You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. The Civil Registry has so far registered up to 365,000 individuals under the National Identification Project. Acting Registrar General Michael Kumung says the office is looking at establishing working partnership with state agencies and community groups to effectively carry out the project. Gregory Avira with this report.
Apart from its fixed provincial offices, the registry has sent out mobile NID registration teams. Today, one team was at the Parliament House to have members of Parliament registered. Acting Registrar General Michael Kumung says the mobile registration started last week, with government departments being the first to be visited.
The Lands Department was completed and we issued cards and certificates some weeks back, and we are also doing the same for other departments like Correctional Services in Bomana. We're almost done. We are with Commerce and Trade. We are sorting the cards. NICTA, we're sorting the cards. We are now scheduling others. Each request that's there, we have done our schedule.
Kumung, whose acting appointment has been further extended for 3 months, has been tasked with having 1.5 million citizens registered by December. He adds that the registration exercise has progressed well, with the waiting time for NID cards to be issued now being cut down to 3 days. In its effort to meet the set target, the Civil Registry Office is looking at working closely with government agencies and community groups throughout the duration of the project.
We are targeting churches, we are targeting schools. We have a partnership arrangement with the Department of Education. We're looking forward to registering all the teachers in the country, as well as the students. And while we get to the students and teachers, we know communities are there, we will attend to them. So we're strategically organizing our team to the rollout, and as I said, building partnership is the way forward.
Kumung adds the full mobile registration rollout will start soon, but citizens can continue to go to fixed civil registry offices in respective provinces to register. Gregoria Vera, PNGTV Live.
Speaker of Parliament Joe Pomat will now seek clarification on the legality of a contract awarded to a staff of Parliament. This follows 3 questions by the member for Rabaul, Dr. Alan Marat, today on the floor of Parliament. The member stated that the contract is worth 221,000 kina and had posed a question to the Speaker as the chairman of the Salaries and Remuneration Secretariat. Dr. Alan Marat says the staff is also a lawyer and questioned if this was legal. The Speaker says he is aware of the contract and will seek the clarification. More and more of our youth population have grown up embracing music as an essential part of their life, but a young 22-year-old in the nation's capital has taken his love for music and video production and turned it into a business which him and his friends have been operating since 2013. Gregory Avera with this report.
From Silas Kania, better known as Psyche, to the group Stagaja, these names have become widely known in the music scene in recent years. Music continues to be a favorite art form for generations. The introduction of music and video editing softwares has made it easier to record and produce one's own music. Patched up behind the family home is young Simes Ambu's very own multimedia studio. The small room overlooking central Waigani served as Kilo 2 multimedia studio for the 22-year-old since 2013. Working alongside the youngster is his friend and music producer Trams. Both have recorded a good number of up-and-coming young artists and even some of the country's big-name artists.
We also had the big guns, Viet Telek along, Uralom, Kanya, came to record a few tracks with us.
The studio charges a fee of 550 kina per single. With no actual training, both have utilized online tutorials to fine-tune their skills over the years. And this has extended beyond music and into multimedia productions as well.
Apart from music production, Kilo 2 Multimedia, we are a registered company under IPA, so we do provide other services like videography. We do music videos, ads, short documentaries. We recently did a project with UN Women for the Safe City programs.
While there are numerous studios alike coming up, competition is something at the back of their minds, but they believe it is one's unique style and creativity that can set them apart. What started off as a hobby and a love for music and video production has seen this studio thrive, and the pair are positive of continuing into the future.
How come my name again? You just introduced me. Okay.
Gregoria Vera, PNGTV Live.
And that ends the PNGTV Live News Bulletin. Up next, the business segment with Festus Maigana. From myself and the news team, it's good night.